This is Brad A. Milford with the Unlimited Business Wisdom Podcast, where business owners share their wisdom. It's short and to the point because we respect people's time and because we know transforming possibility happens really fast and it leads to lasting results. So let's get to it. Question number one. In a few sentences, Brian, tell me who you are and what you do.
So Brian Hess, husband, father to four, CEO of the Pavement Group, founder of Contractor School, involved in a digital marketing company that helps contractors as well. So just entrepreneur all the way around and a proud husband and father. That pretty much sums it up.
And hungry, for anybody listening and not watching, there's a big sign behind you that says hungry, which is a big part of entrepreneurship, isn't it?
No doubt. Stay hungry, stay humble is what it says, right?
I love it. Question number two. Brian, what's the best thing about being in business?
I think it's freedom, man. It's the freedom to create, the freedom to be yourself, the freedom to come up with solutions to other people's problems, and then create financial freedom as a result of that. I don't think there's much more rewarding things in the world than to be able to make money while helping people. And so that for me, that's what it's all about. That's why I started in business for myself, and it's the fuel that keeps me going every single day.
I love it. I'm never displeased when I hear that answer, freedom. Like, it's the most common answer, but every time I hear it, I'm like, yes, freedom. Like, there's beauty in the patterns that you hear amongst these. So that's great.
No doubt about it, man. No doubt about it. If it wasn't for that, people wouldn't do it, man.
Indeed. Yeah, it's an incredible amount of work, but there is a lot of reward in the freedom. So I love it. Question number three. We hear from other business owners, and we just had a conversation about this before we started recording, like about this, right? In the digital space, that people are getting so much business right now, not exclusively in the digital, but a lot of business in that space. People who are used to working remote and stuff, that sometimes that growth or that chaos is causing overwhelm. Tell me your thoughts on that, Brian.
Yeah, I mean, certainly it's something that you have to balance, right? Like when you get into that digital space, it is literally an unlimited place. So learning how to harness the benefits of that without it kind of owning your life. It's funny that this question is getting asked today. We just had a conversation yesterday on my top contractor elite group about the concept of social media being being bad, it doing bad things to society. And I would argue that it does nothing but reveals society, right? That it reveals who you are as a person. It can also reveal your insecurities. It can also reveal the strengths that you have, and you can put those strengths on display. So, from my standpoint, digital is the future. You have to embrace it, but you also have to, without a doubt, pay attention to what you're doing and keep it under control, because it's an unlimited space, man. I mean, you could spend all day, every day, seeking out connections, but never nurturing the ones that you have. So, and it's taken me years to kind of get that balance, man, because I do a lot of it, and, just trying to balance that whole scheduling aspect of it is definitely a challenge, but it's like going back to the same thing. It's the most rewarding piece of our business certainly comes from the people that we connect with on digital.
Love it. I love it. That's how we got connected, through someone else, through a relationship with someone else. So yeah, it's extremely powerful. But I love what you said, because there's a light side and a dark side, if you will. And finding that sweet spot is challenging for people. So we got to push through and be persistent in that. I love it. You shared some deep stuff here, and that is a fascinating conversation. One we'll have on another podcast. I love it. I love it. Question number four. What other successful business owners like yourself, Brian, should be on the Unlimited Wisdom podcast?
I tell you what, man, there's one person that comes to mind. Actually, there's two people that come to mind. A young lady named Valerie Ector. She is a social media strategist in the construction industry. We do some work with her, but she is just a wealth of information and an inspirational woman in our space. And I have a ton of respect for her and what she's done in her business. And there's another guy named Louis Vandervalk, who's out of Canada, who owns a digital company not the one that I'm involved with, but Lewis is just a great guy and owns a company called Blue Crocus Solutions. And I have a lot of respect for what he does and how he carries himself. And so I would say those two people are who come to mind first.
Love it. Thanks for sharing that. And I've not been connected with either one of those yet. So now I'm looking forward to that. Thank you very much. Fantastic. Let's get to the crux of this. Let's get to the wisdom, Brian. What piece of wisdom would you share with other business owners based on your perspective?
Don't ever give up, man. And don't let people, don't let anybody dim your light in the sense that, like, your dreams are your dreams. And there's going to be a lot of people along the way that think you're crazy. In my opinion, that means you're probably on the right track because, most of the people in the world look at what we do as entrepreneurs as somewhat crazy, and they're probably not too far off, right? They're probably not wrong. But you see so often, man, people put in the work, they invest the time, they take the time to start creating their dreams into a reality, and they give up too soon, or they let somebody talk them out of their dreams. And when you start to make that progress that fuels a future dream, that makes your original dream expand, behind me on the wall there's a vision board, and having to replace the things that are on that vision board as a result of accomplishment is a pretty cool feeling, and I would say to the entrepreneurs out there that are just starting out or that are thinking about starting, that all of that stuff is possible. And the only way that it's not possible is if you give up or you let somebody convince you otherwise, to go down a different path other than the dreams that you originally had. And somebody asked me this question yesterday, like, what was the hardest part about getting started in business? And I said, it sounds crazy, but literally just getting started was, just taking the jump, man, because you'll never know what you're capable of until you don't have any other option. And that is the true definition of your capabilities, of your potential, is what will you do when you have no other choice? What would you do if you had to?
I love it. This is a fascinating topic, and one that I imagine both of us have seen a lot of, working with a number of seasoned business owners, but as well as people who are just getting started in this space. And I totally acknowledge and love what you said about just getting started. That's the hardest spot. I think a lot of people get stuck there. What comes to mind? And I don't want to put you on the spot, but like, what comes to mind? Just riffing back and forth. How would you encourage people to just keep going or just get started?
When it comes to just getting started, man, is life is really about risk. It really is about just leaning into the conflict, whether it's conflict within yourself, the conflict you see in the world, the disagreements that happen online. And I think that so often when we want to start, there's a place of comfort that we have in our life that it's easier to stay in. And one of my buddies says this. He says, man, the only time that you are truly comfortable in this life is right before death. And so I don't want to be comfortable, and I think that society as a whole, the reason that so many people don't become entrepreneurs, I believe that will change in the future, is that society seeks too much comfort. And the real rewards, the real fulfillment in your life comes from those moments where you don't know what to do and you figure it out. You can look back on those times. When it comes to just keep going, there's going to be a million times in your life that you fall down, a million times. And I mean, I've fallen down more times than I care to talk about on this podcast. I continue to fall down every single week. And I think that there also is a comfort in knowing that if you're not failing, if you're not falling down every once in a while, you're probably not pushing hard enough towards overreaching your potential, right? If you're always succeeding, if you're always winning, then you're not pushing hard enough, because if you were, you would experience some failure. And that's where the education and the reward comes from.
Love it. I couldn't love what you shared any more than I do. I absolutely love it. There's an old Asian maxim or adage that says, fall down 7 times, get up 8. And so as long as you know you're getting back up again and you're learning from those mistakes, man, that is some powerful stuff. I appreciate you sharing some good stuff. Let's switch gears for a moment because I bet you and I could talk about business forever.
No
So,
doubt.
but we work to live, not live to work. Goes back to that freedom in the beginning of this. What's the most fun vacation you've ever had? I didn't know.
So a couple of years ago, I met a good buddy of mine online in the digital space, and he lives in the Caribbean in a little tiny island called Anguilla. And last year, we were able to take the family down there for my 40th birthday, and
Nice.
I'd been there a handful of times for business prior to that, without the family, without my wife, and there's something about that island, man, there's an energy about it. The people that are there are just incredible. The love that you feel, it's a special place. And there's a video that I watched about it after I'd gone there, and it says, man, the smell is different, the feel is different, the air is different, everything about it is different. And it's a place to definitely go and kick back. It's not definitely not a party vacation, but there's something about you can fly into St. Martin and take a ferry over to that island. And every time I leave that island, man, and I'm on a ferry headed back to St. Martin, I feel like, somehow I got the reset button hit right on my brain, on everything about the energy that I have is different. And so that is by far my favorite place. And I would encourage anybody that has the opportunity to go visit that island to do it. And I'd love to hear your experience after you go.
Love it. I'm ready to hop on a plane. Let's go.
No doubt.
I love hearing stories like that. I love culture. I love traveling. I love, just having the freedom to be able to do that. So I'm putting that on my list, man. I haven't been there.
It should be on your list, brother. I promise you. It should be on your list.
I love it. Brian, thanks for being on. A couple things. One, what would people turn to you? Because this has been a great conversation where we covered a lot of ground, like on a macro level, right? What would people contact you for immediately? How can you help them and serve them? And then question number 2 is, how would they find you when they see this and they're like, oh, I got to get in touch with that guy? Like, how do they reach you on social media or your website, or what's the best method?
Yeah, man. So I try to help people in every way that I can. So I've got a podcast that I do every single morning at 7:30 a.m. live on Facebook. So you can find me, Brian Hess, BrianHess. And my Instagram, all the social handles are real Brian Hess, REAL. And I'm a construction guy. I'm a coach. I'm a leader. I try to be a person that gives back, that provides perspective. The title of my podcast is the Perspective Podcast. So I try to provide perspective and life tips and motivation and inspiration as much as I can. And happy to connect with anybody. And if you do connect with me, by all means, send me a DM. I'd love to connect with you on a deeper level than just social media, the surface stuff that we do. That's how I kind of try to be different in that space, right? Is to be a real person in somebody's life, not just the digital figure that you see online commenting back and forth. So
I love it. Get real.
Yep.
DM them and get real. I dig it. I love it. Fantastic. This is Brad A. Milford with the Unlimited Business Wisdom Podcast, where business owners making 5, 6, 7, 8 figures. It's not really about the money. It's about sharing their wisdom and creating impact globally. Thanks for joining us.